Sex and samadhi, spirituality, they're often at loggerheads. And the basic, the most primordial question on the path of spirituality is, should I be having sex? I mean, sex is fun. Sex gives you pleasure. So most spiritualists and spiritual people, especially the religious ones, the ones that are really talking about God, will tell you that sex is bad. We'll talk about virginity. We'll talk about all these things. And they will bring immense shame and guilt upon you. And we are heavily conditioned on the path of spirituality to assume that sex is the sin. Sex is the problem. So many people who are not even meditating enough are asking these ridiculous questions. Oh, Mana, should we be having sex? Or they have sexual problems in their relationships because you're married. You're probably dating somebody. But you also want to explore spirituality. So, what is the answer for a grahastha or somebody that is still in the material world? First, let's understand the basics of spirituality. Spirituality is not something separate from existence. It's not like you become holy and you go to some other world. That's not spirituality. Spirituality is the core of who you are. Your spirit is the core of who you are. Then what's the problem? The problem is that when we have taken birth in the human form, we are more identified with the body, right? You forget you're a spirit. You were born in your mother's womb. You took birth there. It happened there. The sperm and the egg met. And a spark happened and you came into existence. Where were you before that? Who were you? Who were you in the womb? No name was given to you yet. Nothing. You didn't have a very solid identity. But then they called you by a name. Then you identified as the religion that you were born into. Then you started identifying as your gender. Till the first few years, I don't think boys and girls are even aware of something as gender. But as the kids become turn 4, 5, they start getting aware. This is a boy, this is a girl. It's still not that rigid. But a sexual identity comes upon you. But nothing quenches your thirst. We know our names. We know our religious identity. We know ourselves in a very physical, a very superficial aspect. But has that quenched your thirst to know yourself? Is that enough? No, it's not enough. Then one starts trying to figure out the mind. Then one goes deeper and then they want to know who they are, how they feel, what they like, what they dislike. That identity is still at the level of the mind. But then some great men and women or our ancestors figured out that there is a deeper identity. I'm sure humans figured this out because they must have been bored with whatever was happening. Because they might have had too much sex, too much food, now they were chilling. And it's only when you have actually experienced everything that these questions automatically, naturally arise in you. Who am I? And then they went into the depths of that question. And they seeked. And that seeking is spirituality. That you want to find an identity beyond the body, beyond the mind. You want to know the soul, if there is any such thing. At the deepest part, who am I? So how is sex sinful in all this? Because if sex was sinful, then all animals are sinful, are sinners. The birds are sinners. There is no human possible without sin. Then we've created these gods and goddesses and we assume that they never had sex. Oh, they must have procreated in some other way. I don't know, in 30 years, 40 years of my life, I have not seen anybody procreate in any other way except for having sex. And there's a reason why I'm even being able to talk. Because I have a body right now. So sex is not sinful. But sex has its limitations. The negative side of sex is that it makes us too attached to the body. It creates a lot of karma around the body. For somebody who wants to experience or live from that depth, sex can become, I'm not saying always, and it all depends from person to person. There are lots of people who are able to balance their sexual life and their spiritual life really well. Sometimes you can have sex and meditate much better after having sex if you have a great partner. It's the most amazing way to show love and affection to the one that you love. So, Tantra. Let's see what Tantra says about sex or what Tantra says about the body. I don't identify with the conventional orthodox views around sex and the spiritual process because I've had ample of it in my life. I am married. I continuously have sex with my husband, and I think I'm fairly spiritual. I think we both can also meditate with each other, but we can also have sex. And yes, if one day we don't feel like having sex with each other and we feel like only meditating, I think that'll be the most natural course that the relationship has to take. But these things cannot be forced. These things cannot be forced upon another, and they cannot be forced upon you because force is ugly. Forcing someone to have sex with you is ugly, and forcing someone not to have sex is equally ugly. This should be a person's natural choice of how and what they wish to do with their body. Right? So I see a lot of hypocrites around. I see hypocrites in spiritual communities because so many people are indulging in sexual activities but projecting this holier than thou attitude towards, I don't know. I think Tantra feels that the body is holy. How can the body not be holy when the body is the temple of the soul? The soul resides, or the spirit resides in the body. There's nothing wrong with this body. There's nothing wrong with the body. The same way that you feel hunger to eat food, the same way the body has some sexual desires. Nothing more complicated than that. Now, a lot of people go on denying food to the body, extreme hunger, to achieve something. So, the same way they go on denying sex to the body to achieve that. Is it needed? Not really. One day will come in your spiritual practice that maybe the need for sex just falls off. The higher the energy rises when you're doing sadhana, the more the desire for sex naturally drops. But sometimes I see people, when they're doing sadhana, they get really aroused. And these people are the ones who have repressed their sexuality. Will sex come in the way of enlightenment? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't agree with that thought process. And this is just my opinion. I feel that sex is one of the most beautiful aspects of life. It is a very divine way of showing love, respect, of sharing love. The minds can meet, our hearts can meet, and then the bodies also meet. There's nothing ugly or sinful around sex. It's not an unholy act. So Tantra teaches you how to use the body, how to use love. And Sambhog is my program where I'm going to teach you how to make the act of love, which is already divine. It is a divine act, even more beautiful, to understand in depth the role that sex has to play in our lives and how, if one wants to rise above it, how can we gracefully and gently please understand that the body is not something that you can whack and force and put into submission, because that's ugly. The body is a beautiful gift of this creation, masterpiece. Learn how to work with the body, and the body will very gently rise above its own primal needs. If that is your calling, if you're hungry for something more, only then. Never do all these things thinking that there's something wrong with having sex. So join Sambhog. It's the first time I'm teaching this program. The link is in the bio.